Hello YouTube, this is Amisbro and we are back with another game review. This time we're discussing the DLC actually of a game that I've already reviewed. Sleeping Dogs. The DLC in question is called Nitemare in North Point. Remember I told you I was going to give you the review once I beat it? Well, congratulations, we've already beaten it. This game actually, or this story, has 3 different arcs to it. It's not nearly as long as the main game, but then again, that's why it's DLC. Here is the story, though, for those who wonder. Wei Shen and Not Ping are going out to a movie, along with some buddies, and as they leave, everything seems to be normal. Until a former Sun On Yi member, who we find out later is called Smiley Cat, decides to take his revenge on Wei Shen and ends up abducting Not Ping, and therefore starting the calamity that is the Nitemare in North Point. Now there's actually 3 arcs to this game. The first is getting 3 items required to be able to fight an enemy, which I'll discuss in a minute. The second is dealing with 3 former Sun On Yi members who you fought in the main story: Ponytail, Dog Eyes, and Rat Face. And finally, you'll be facing Big Smiley Cat one-on-one. Well, not really. I'll explain that in a minute. I'll explain that also. To beat Not Ping, or to free Not Ping. Along the way, you will have to face these Japanese zombies or Japanese vampires called the Jiangshi, and you also have to face other big bad demons, excuse me, called the Jerichois, and they are even bitchier. You can, however, earn the ability to set enemies on fire. How do we do this? Well, there's these 10 pots scattered around North Point. Your job is to find them all, as this game is collectible, and if you do so, you earn an achievement called Hell Money. Achievement or trophy. So that's important if you want to be able to come close to 100%ing this particular DLC. Incidentally, in the next one, You're the Snake, it is evidence bags. Just for those interested when we get to that one. Now, let's talk about each particular part. The first part involves, like I said, picking up 3 items, which are explained by one of the shopkeepers that you have to free. It's mandatory. You free this guy, by the way. Once you get the 3 items, your face meter no longer becomes a face meter. Well, it becomes something else. Let's call it the Fist of Fire meter, because once it goes all the way up, you can actually punch enemies and potentially set them on fire, because there's a 25% chance every time you light one of these cauldrons that you find throughout the city. There's also fire barrels that you can use to your advantage in this game also. Now, once you do that... Oh, and did I like to mention the 18K are back? Yeah, they're back. Their goal is to make sure that you don't get the 3 items required to make the tea. However, once you get the items, you can actually fight the Jerichois. But, again, you can only hit them when your meter is full. This is actually a lot harder than it sounds, considering that every time you get hit by one of the Jiangshis, it knocks your meter down a peg. And that's something you do not need. And they become even bitchier later in the game also, because as you get further in the game, you're going to have to dump them into portals. 3 close up the portal, and then they will stop respawning, and you can actually kill them. But that's only one part of the game. I also mentioned that there are 3 former Sun On Yi bosses that you have to face, right? Ponytail, Dog Eyes, and Rat Face. Well, they're just as bitchy as they were in the other game, in the main story, except this time they're commanding undead creatures. So not only are you dealing with them, you're dealing with the Jiangshi and you're dealing with the Jurguais. And if I if I'm mispronouncing that name, the Jurguais, I do apologize. Okay? Chinese is not my forte. I'm closer to mastering the Japanese language than I am probably the Chinese. But anyway. So they're commanding those guys, and after you defeat, those creatures, then you also... Oh, you can defeat them before you actually finish off the Jiangshis, but it's not advisable. At least I don't think it is. Although I actually did beat, I think it was Ratface, before I actually cleared out all the Jiangshis. I did encounter a glitch in this game, and it actually was when I was facing... Let me think for a second. Oh yeah, it was Ratface. Here's what happened. So, you go into the area where you were fighting Ratface before, in the main story. And of course he's got his Jiangshis that you have to deal with. Well, as you're fighting him, and you're fighting them, it is possible to kill him before you kill off all the Jiangshis. By the way, if you kill... This doesn't work for, by the way, the end boss, Smiley Cat. If you were to kill any of the other... Either the other two Jiangshi members, you don't do this to Ponytail. But if you were to kill Dog Eyes, or you killed Ratface before you killed the Jiangshi, you would just then have to face the Jiangshi. But what happened was, I actually killed off I actually killed Ratface. Well, the game glitched because there was an enemy I was supposed to fight, and he was supposed to be in the area where the fight with Ratface took place. I got Dog Eyes and Ratface mixed up. Guess what happened? The game glitched and I had to restart the mission. Yeah, do you know how bitchy that is? It literally glitched. And I don't know what's worse. That or something else that happened when I was facing Smiley Cat towards the end of the game, which, again, I'll get into. Now, facing them wasn't too bad because all you have to do is really remember how you fought them when you played them, when you fought against them in the main story. And I did, and they were relatively not that bitchy, okay? However, it's fighting the Jiangshi and it's fighting the Jurguais. That's the problem. Yes, they flash red when they're getting ready to attack, so you're able to counter them. And in some cases, when you don't need to dump one in a portal, you can kill them. To kill them, here's what you have to do, though. This is where it gets funny. You punch the shit out of them, and then when they get a dizzy single above their head, you hit the circle button like you were going to grapple them. And you would either just punch them in the face normally, or if you have your face meter filled up, he does some kind of Bruce Lee-ish disco dancey thingy, and with a paper thing on, and then punches them in the face, killing them. But here's where it gets tricky. If one of them bites you, because they're vampires, by the way, did I neglect to mention that? You have to get them off of you. This entails, by the way, moving the analog stick, the left one, right and left. Here's the problem. You can do that all day, and sometimes it won't register that you're breaking free from them, so they could take away a good portion of your life bar. Moral of that story, don't let them bite you, or else you got a problem. You're better off countering them sometimes, as long as there's not a shit ton of those guys to deal with. And believe me, when there is, yeah, it can be a problem. But anyways, so they're enough of a problem. Now, put them together with having a certain requirement to face off against the Jurguais. now you got an even bigger mess. So you can only fight those things if you have a full face meter, i.e. your fists are on fire. Well, if they're punching you and your meter's going down, it's hard as hell to fight them. And even if, by the way, you get a full face meter, it doesn't mean you'll be able to hit the Jerichois, because they'll be teleporting all over the place and it's hard enough to hit them. It sometimes becomes really, 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 really unfair, especially considering there can be about 50 Jerichois to deal, 50 Jiangshis to deal with, and one Jerichoi. Trust me. Oh, but this is nothing compared to the final battle against Smiley Cat. Alright, here's what happens. And by the way, I do apologize if there's spoilers in this, but I'm just giving you a heads up so you know what to expect should you actually buy the mission pack. Okay? Alright, we have to go to the temple to go face Smiley Cat. Well, there's a priest that he possesses. Or actually, is it a monk or a priest? It's one of the two. Anyway, you got one of those to deal with. Well, when you fight them, you're pretty much going to have to fight it as if it had a weapon in its hand. Basically, wait for it to come after you, and you counter it, and then punch the shit out of them. Alright. Well, what also happens is, then the Jiangshi and the Jerichoi come out, and you'll have to face a Jerichoi by beating it with the Jiangshi. But after that, oh, by the way, I neglect to mention, you're going to have to throw the Jiangshi into one of those portals. Remember, it takes 3 to close up a portal. Alright, if that's not enough, after you beat it the first time, then you have to go back and fight the priest again. You have to fight the priest twice, the Jiangshi twice, at least one Jerichoi, and then you get to face Smiley Cat. And oh, by the way, when you go to fight him, you still have to deal with the Jiangshis. But the only thing about this is once you beat up Smiley Cat, yeah, you don't have to kill off the remaining Jiangshi to be able to finish the game. And then there's a really, really, really creepy ending at the end of the game, which leads you to believe that not all is well. Let's just leave it there. Oh, did I neglect to mention this game also has some side missions. Periodically through the game, it will give you side missions to do. If you look on your map, you'll notice there's blue, light blue, which means the Jiangshi, and purple for demons, or the Jerichois. If you fight them, you can win something called a Petri sword. If I can speak English today, that'd be great. Well, when you get the swords, you can use those to kill off the Jiangshi easier. Well, when it's just a Jiangshi, these act like the drug bust in the main story. How? Well, when you fight them, you're actually freeing citizens in the game. And oh, by the way, throughout the course of the game, yes, more and more citizens do become possessed, and eventually some will get pissed off when they see you, and you have to fight them. But don't worry, those are far and away easier than fighting a Jiangshi, a Jerichoi, or an 18K member. And some of those guys even get possessed later in the game. Whew. Now, everything I just told you, what do I say about this? I suggest you getting the DLC if you've completed the... By the way, you do not have to have completed the main story in order to be able to enjoy the DLC, because it's a completely different story. But I do strongly suggest that you play through the main story first. I don't know why, just go ahead and play through it. And then play this one so you understand who that game actually arbitrarily picked for you to be dating when the whole goes down. But other than that, it does have a challenge level. Whether or not the challenge is truly fair, that's another story, mainly because of the whole, you have to waggle the left arm, you have to, the left thumbstick to free yourself, and sometimes it doesn't register properly. Even if you're doing it right, you know. You could literally get killed trying to get freed from one of those things. Plus, the final boss fight, kind of a disappointment, I gotta tell you. But I do recommend it, especially if you're a fan of like really cheesy horror, because that's basically what they designed it to be. Really cheesy horror. So yeah, go check it out, but only if you're a fan of either really cheesy horror or if you just want to like play some, you know, one of the side missions. Although, wait until you hear about Year of the Snake. That'll be coming up in the near future. So, until then, my friends, you all have a great time, or a great night, and I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye.